Alrighty, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Take2Podcast. How are we doing? Welcome in.
Thank you.
Excited. So yeah, today we are joined with a very special guest. We have Mr. Jonti from Geekism. What's up, buddy?
Hello, you. How are you? You all right?
Hey, that's
there. It is trademark.
Oh yeah, I get $1 every time I say it.
Yeah, right.
How's it going, boys?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty excited about the little announcement from Planet Zoo and Frontier there, and it sounds like you even came out of the woodworks a little bit hearing about it.
Yeah, Jonti, you must be
fair.
halfway excited for us to drag you onto this. This must have piqued your attention a little bit.
Yeah, I always said that like either things that swim down or things that fly up would be the things that sort of really started getting my juices flowing again, you know.
Sure.
Like as much as I liked the Australia pack, it was still just things walking around, and you put your grass down and you put some water down and some trees, and you know what I mean. Like
right,
and
and Linda hates it when I say this, but I always say like the animals are kind of second for me, and the theming and the that is kind of what brings me back. So a lot of times I don't like that doesn't really get my goose going, the new animals, but this time I think this pack is transcending that thought for me. Like I genuinely think I'm going to be invested in these otters, seals, penguins, even what were you saying? The little dwarf caiman. This is the pack for me. It's different. I feel there's a different vibe to it.
I enjoy the I'm obviously more of a creative builder than like sort of interested in the sort of mechanics of the game, the welfare of the animals and stuff. But I do enjoy building the habitats to the specifications of the creature, And the problem is with all of the DLC we've had so far, it's kind of just been more of the same in that, you need so much grass, you need so much dirt. You know what I mean? So this is the first time where we're really able to build new habitats that those creatures actually need,
Right. And these are habitats that I've said that are going to just create such an energy and buzz around your zoos now. It's, again, pretty much what you just said. It's not the same grassy hillside, savanna hillside, whatever, theme it to that. It's going to actually have, water and diving mechanics. You're going to hear otters, hopefully, doing that otter noise they do and everything. It's just going to add so much.
Just remind us what that sounds like. Drew?
The
Oh yeah.
And the one thing too that Drew has been mentioning for the last week or so is we finally feel like we're getting into the packs that are community based. They're like we're getting out of, okay, this is what we want to do, let's get these out of the way, this was pre-planned. Now it's like we're getting into the meat and the bones of what this game is capable of. I mean, don't you guys kind of feel that like we're in a transitional period in our Planet Zoo lives with this pack?
I would argue this is the first sort of expansion pack we've seen.
Right. Yeah, and like you said, just this is more than just the little, the animals kind of bouncing back and forth and the same old. This is game-changing type stuff. I mean, not to sound, just quote unquote game changing, but it literally quite
feels
is
almost equivalent to like what was it, Studios Pack or something around there for Planet Coaster, where we went from kind of like, oh, these are good DLCs to like, oh, okay, these DLCs are like, we're going in a direction now that like is community focused and more like real theme park kind of focused. And that's what they even said in this little update on the official update post here. They've said that, we're listening to community feedback and looking at more real world zoos to base like future packs on, which is like, well, I'm glad you're doing that now, but like, yeah, that's a good idea. You should focus them on future or real zoos.
That I know John's in the chat or was and said he's going to come back later or something. But that one screenshot of the lighthousey kind of build that they show off,
the harbor kind of thing,
that screams like a Mass Bandit build. That does,
right?
It does, right?
That could be
like they literally.
What was his park that you did in
Pine Creek? That's yours, Estian. Cedar, oh my gosh, we suck.
That one,
the one with the coasters and the trees.
You know that one.
The one that he's built in like every roller coaster game.
Yeah. I can't think what it's called, but that one, Conifer Slopes.
Conifer Slopes.
Yeah, it totally looks like a Conifer Slopes.
Ruby
Thank you, Ruby.
Conifer Slopes.
Yeah, it totally looks like Conifer Slopes built that, which is
they created this for him. I even saw he put out like an elusive tweet earlier today. He's like, okay, guys, now calm down. I'm back. I will do some zoo videos with this.
Yeah.
So when when John is even hyped and we've even piqued Jonti's interest a little bit, I think we're on to something a little special. This is not your run of the mill
you also
DLC.
You saw Rubel in the Bro Nation Discord also point out a good thing or a good point about the penguin habitat and how it just has this like realistic zoo habitat vibe. It's not really like an over the top
crap.
It's what it looks,
in the
but
best
like
way possible. In the right way, yeah.
Yes, it does. And that kind of brings up to the first little thing that we should probably touch on, because it's like the biggest talk of the pack. You know, it's not how cute are the otters, what are you going to do with the seals? It's, are we getting flexi-colored rocks in this pack? And that's, we think that because, yeah, these rocks that we keep seeing pop up in different habitats, they look the same, but they look just kind of, I don't know, kind of smeary and like different colors. Looks like they might be kind of flexy there.
Right. That has been the Planet Zoo argument of the afternoon. Everybody kind of has their take on, no, those are going to be just new rocks that come with this aquatic pack. No, they're going to be flexi-color. Look how they look the same, but they're totally a weird green shade. That's kind of been the talk of the afternoon. You know, we had the excitement this morning. Now we've kind of moved on to, are those flexi-color rocks?
And that's how it works, isn't it? We start dissecting everything.
We got some, like, they were called like ice rocks in the first pack, right? Yeah. The Arctic pack. Mm-hmm. But they were like crazy, shiny, bright blue things, right? Well, I don't think I've seen anyone ever use. So
right, kind of creepy, yeah.
Yeah, they were just really a weird. They was a really interesting texture. But yeah, not very useful. Whereas these ones here, like those in the corner, I mean, I'm watching the playback, so I don't know how delayed it actually is, but that shot again with that lighthouse, the bottom corner, there's these like little rocks that they've used just to make like a little rockery
have been
space.
confirmed to be flexi-colored, because you can see those in the penguin and in the harbor, and I think in one of the other ones, and they're all different colors all the time. So
right, and before we jumped on, both of these guys had a really good point about the little bit lower piece count. Remember, normally the scenery piece count 210, 220, 230. It's only 170 this time, so that 100% leads me to believe, okay, there's not as many because some of these have been made flexi-color.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and arguably, that's like, I always felt like that was a bit of a way. It was, if you want to look at it like negatively, it was a way of bumping up the piece count, right? It was to offer a basic color and then a flexi color. Right. If you want to be positive about it, you could say that, well, the basic color is there for the maybe the not so builders who can just drag them out and throw them in, you know, and not have to try and find a color that works for wood or for stone or whatever, right? So you could argue that it's like, you know, here's the base color, but then there's also a flexi one. But personally, just give me the flexi one where the color it starts as is the basic color, then that's fine in my opinion. Right. So yeah, so hopefully that's what we'll see, because otherwise it just starts to bloat the list out, right?
Unnecessarily, right? So, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you know, and then maybe if they give us flexi-color, we can move on to another one of Jonti's wants for like the last 8 years and maybe resize objects one of these centuries. I'm not pushing my luck. I'm not pushing my luck.
I don't know whether I'd be that fussed about resizing stuff, because I've always said this, I feel that the limitations limitation inhibits creativity, and if you start getting to the point where, because people used to ask a lot, like you know, could we replace textures, could we replace, you know, the sizes, and then suddenly you just go and use Blender, right? Just I actually quite like the limited tool set. Is why I really enjoy games like Parkitect and you know, and other smaller titles like that, because that limited tool set means you have to forms your creativity by having a limited tool set, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like if you could resize everything and recolor everything, then I almost feel like that might be too much, you know. It's why I haven't done that much with like the Theme Maker's Toolkit in Planet Coaster, because I feel that if you can suddenly just import any mesh, then why bother using the pieces, you know? So, I don't know whether size would be something I'd be too fussed about. So can I be a negative Nancy for a second?
Of course.
This is something I pointed out to John. I haven't seen an animal get in or out of the water without using a weird platform thing.
So
yet.
Shantae came in to my stream this morning when I was covering it and addressed that. So those are enrichment items. But I do know what you're saying though, because so even if those are enrichment items, we haven't seen in a trailer or anything like that. Well, like you said, them jumping from the land, anything that you make into the water,
or like
just
walking up on the beach. Yeah,
right. So that is an interesting point. That I wonder if that's going to be kind of seamless.
Because I want to make like a jetty cliff out of rocks that penguins dive off. Right. Because that's what they do in real life. That's what I want to be able to do. Like, or is it going to be that they swim out, like the animals currently swim out, they get up onto this thing, and then they have to dive through the hole to kind of move to a different rig system or something? I mean, I'm not a coder in any way, shape, or form, you know what I mean? So I'm sure people in the chat who are listening to this who understand this kind of stuff better are probably rolling their eyes back into their fucking skulls. But like, do you know what I mean? Like to move them into that different state of, I am now a volumetric swimmer. I worry they might have to kind of go through this process, which it's not the end of the world, but I do think that's going to be something I hope that I'm wrong about.
Like with you bring up like with especially with the penguins, I can see it because the hitboxes with the animals, sometimes they can get kind of wonky already, especially like with the apes and stuff. So yeah, I can't imagine with this being a new thing that. Yeah, there's probably going to be limitations to how they get kind of in and out to get that kind of animation going and stuff. But yeah, like you bring up, that'd be really cool if like you set up a rock structure and they like knew to kind of jump into it and stuff like that. But
yeah,
it feels like it's going to probably be probably a little bit rudimentary to start, but I hope not. That'd be really cool if they
Well, and look at the crocs though too. Even the crocs now like slowly kind of meander over towards the beach, and they don't have any problem kind of transitioning to the walk kind of up onto the beach.
They don't, but that's not how a penguin gets it. A penguin doesn't walk into the water, right? Penguins dive into the water always because they naturally live on ice. You know what I mean? Shantae did say that they could swim anytime they didn't use the item to start. Okay, that's good. If that's been confirmed, thank you, Boulder Quine. That's a good name.
There you go. So,
there was a couple of them right there on that screen that were kind of looking close to the shallow beach, but it's kind of hard to see.
Right, yeah, because they can kind of, and all the seals will be really interesting because they do that like slide out, right? They kind of hit the ground running almost. The seals they kind of slide up onto the ground.
Right. So when they come out of the water, they almost like dive back onto the land, and it's
kind exciting to see what they look like. And I imagine that probably that's been the thing that's taken this aquatic pack so long and taken this coding, because once they're in the water, I imagine just sort of giving them 3-dimensional sort of volumetric movement isn't so bad.
Especially in the habitat system.
I imagine that sort of step. Between the walking and the swimming is the thing that's difficult, you know.
Right.
And we also noticed too that Drew and I had talked about this maybe a couple podcasts ago, like the picture that's going by right now. We do have the little bit of VFX bubble and like water turbulation, you know. That's going to be really cool to see these little water missiles kind of, jetting all over the place. That's what I'm saying. This is just so transformative and so, I don't want to say so unfrontier like, but it's something that's never been presented to us before like this. It's really like studio game breaking. They've never been able to present this to us before.
I haven't been like this.
That's what's exciting to me.
I haven't been like this enthralled with an update to Planet Coaster probably since I saw the first time they showed off the wooden coaster in Planet Coaster, like kind of thing.
But that was a launch, right?
Yeah, so basically.
What would have been the Planet Coaster equivalent of this then? Because this is basically a new mechanic. That fits into
it's obvious, isn't it?
I'd have to say studios pack.
It's just picnic benches. Everyone went so apeshit for picnic benches.
One of my fondest memories is being at the Frontier Expo in London when they announced picnic benches and all the Planet Coaster people went crazy. And I had like 3 or 4 Elite Dangerous players come up to me afterwards, and they were like, What have we missed? Like what? Why are you all going crazy about picnic benches?
Jonti's Jonti's just like sobbing to himself. It's picnic benches.
Yeah. Linda says dark rides. I would argue that probably dark rides was the closest thing we got in Planet Coaster to being a really new mechanic, But then, because again, we were doing dark rides at launch, right, using slow-moving coasters and stuff. So I think probably dark rides and shooting rides maybe, but they didn't quite hit home just as much as adding aquatic animals. Now that's the other thing I say. This surely should be called the semi-aquatic pack.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So can we talk about the lack of fish
in the aquatic pack? Yeah. I mean, there are fish technically, but they just shoot out of a fish cannon for crocodiles to eat at the moment.
Okay.
Did you see that?
I did. So,
so you can kind of do it.
Yeah, and Jonti, we were wondering, like, are those fish frozen dead, or are they going to move?
I don't know. That to me, that's kind of one of those. That's kind of one of those slight sort of with the poo cannon, like the poo vacuum thing.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where at some point the game mechanic has to take precedent to the. Yeah. It's very video gamey, but I get it.
Yeah.
But I'd be honest with you, the first thing I'm going to do, build a big glass box, fill that with water, put those in it, and see if I can make it look like an aquarium. 100%.
Yeah.
First thing I'm going to do. I'm desperate for an aquarium in this game. I'll take semi-aquatic animals. Like that's a really good start. But honestly, I always assumed that when we got these kind of animals, it would be in a much larger like expansion pack. Back like when we used to get with Zoo Tycoon.
Sure.
I was assuming we would get 10, 15, semi-aquatic or aquatic habitat animals. And then maybe like 10, 20 different aquarium tanks. Because I feel that would have been an easier shift to turn exhibit animals into fish tanks than adding fully volumetric aquatic animals in the habitats, right? Because they're done there, right? Those exhibits are small contained spaces with animals on like an animation loop, right? That surely that lends itself to sticking fish in there much easier than.
And I know that this pack is not even out yet, but man, they've set the bar high for DLC launches with this mischief. I mean, what comes next that competes with this level? Do they go mundane for a couple packs after this, or do they keep bringing the heat, or because this is going to be pretty hard to.
Birds,
John said birds.
I mean,
next.
it has to be, right? That's the next obvious leap, I guess, or flight.
Yeah, birds would be the logical next step. Yeah, literally John said the exact same words as they came out of my mouth. The logical next step is birds. Yeah, that's what I would think. And then, I don't think they ever will with the crossover with Jurassic World, but the next step for a lot of zoo games is things like mythical creatures or
extinct animals.
I don't think they'll ever do something like that.
I think they've often said that wouldn't happen. So
right.
I think personally, that my only real downside of this so far, honestly, I think it can all just be lumped into one issue, and that issue is that they've got themselves stuck in this 5 animals and 150 scenery pieces thing, and it worked for Planet Coaster. 5 rides and scenery to go with them worked really well for Planet Coaster. Feel like that isn't the right makeup for Zoo DLC. I really don't.
Yeah, and I get a ton of comments from my community, and just you see it out there. And matter of fact, I even sent Shantae and Dahlia an email today, and just asking them, like, can you guys give me some kind of direction on, like if it was Pierce, why do we get the 5 animal? What is causing that? What internal deliberations happened that you thought 5 to 7 was the key to? Is it a longevity thing? Is it a I mean, tell me, is it a resource thing? I mean,
like going off what John said, is it like, if it's a time thing, are they just scared that the average casual player aren't going to be willing to wait 6 months instead of 3 months, or 8 months instead of 4 months for 8 animals, 8 habitat animals, and stuff like that?
You could argue that I mean, that's a fair point, and you could argue that this isn't really a frontier problem; it's a video game problem, right? Just how much we've shifted in the last couple of years from expansion packs to more bite-sized DLC content.
Well, Jonti, look how quick we die off. Like, I mean, Drew and I, we play a new DLC for like a week or two, and then everybody's like, okay, what's happening next? Because these 4, this ain't cutting it. They're we're done in like 2 weeks. We're ready for something new. So I could imagine what it would be like waiting 6 months. I mean, even if the packs were bigger, I think that they're just, with that 90-day formula they have going on, we have to give it to them. It takes us right to that edge where you're about to give up on it forever, and then it sucks you back in. It's like just enough time passes where you want to move on, and then you're pulled back once that 90-day hits. You know? I mean, I know you guys have felt that.
I have, but I also wonder if that's because you know that's the cycle as well. So you get to a point a few weeks in that you go, well, okay, there's going to be something else in a couple of months, like it's a tough one. Somebody in the chat there, Silversock, says people forget that the original Zoo Tycoon, you had to wait a year before the first DLC. People forget you had to wait a year for the first Planet Coaster DLC.
That's very true.
We had a year of Planet Coaster with a few free updates before we got a Spooky Pack. So
we lost our minds when Spooky Pack came out, but we had waited, like you said, the speculation, and it
kind of feels like Planet Zoo was. I mean, we had DLCs that came out and they were pretty okay, but it kind of feels like this is what they've been working towards. This aquatic, or let's just put semi-aquatic pack. This is like their big end all for the year here. The DLCs are pretty good, but I think with this pack coming out here, it just kind of shows that they're still heavy into the development and doing some really game-changing, game-breaking things here for the future.
And I think the other people are saying that the Planet Zoo has struggled to keep attention as long as Planet Coaster, and I think that's really down to the sort of creative options, right? Like, there are a million ways you can build a roller coaster, right? There are a million things you can do, crazy, wacky things, like floating island. What was that? The one that Silver, Volvara, was it called, or something? Steampunk. Right. Or you can do incredibly realistic, or there are like this. You give everyone the same roller coaster, as in the same. You give everyone. You've got to build a wooden coaster. You'll see 30 different wooden coasters, right? But if you say to everyone, okay, here's a lion, make a lion habitat. There's only so many combinations you can put grass, rocks, and plants together, right? I think that is really the problem, and that isn't a negative. That's just that they are different games, right? And the way to alleviate that is with this pack, really, is to give us, okay, so this time we have to think about water placement. We have to think about how the animals are getting in and out of the water, how people are going to view the animals underwater, because we've all done it. We've all made underwater viewing. Some of us, more than others. We've all made underwater viewing areas, but this time it's not going to be people looking up at the surface of the water from inside the water, right? Because that's what the game currently does. This time we're actually going to have, pigeons. I was going to say, not pigeons.
Yeah, pigeons flying through the water.
Pigeons shooting past. Black and white pigeons. One of the stupidest things I've ever said. When the very first time we came to Canada, we came for a vacation a few years before we decided to move here, and we were walking along Toronto, and it's just on the edge of Lake Erie, and we saw a loon dive into the water, and I looked over to my wife and said, "Was that a penguin?" And then as soon as I said it, realised what I'd said. I was like, no, of course it's not a penguin. She's never let me live it down.
Remember, that's awesome. But yeah, no, so let's see here. I want to make sure we're covering everything in the pack. Just going over this.
Oh yeah, Drew, one thing on my little notebook here is what are you and Mr. Jonti thinking about? I've been fooled before, South America Pack, looking at you. What about this weird watercolor I am seeing? My eyes are deceiving me if you are telling me that this is all what we have right now. There is no way that green water that I tweeted to you guys today, I do not have that right now, or it would be in Suyana like as we speak. What's going on with that?
It definitely does look like, especially when you look at the trailer and stuff, when you're not looking behind the foggy glass that they provide to us, it definitely looks really blue. Now that could be because, well, no, you do see the bottom of it, and it's not one of the plaster bottoms that people make. So yeah, it does look like it's way more blue. And again, a lot of people have kind of suggested that animals like this would need like a salt water or just kind of like a more aquarium type water so that you could actually see into the habitat a lot better.
Do we have currently, remind me, because it's been a while since I played, there's no differentiation between salt and
no,
not salt water right now, right? Because some of the animals are salt water and not, right? But at the moment, there's no variation.
Exactly. There, no. It's just the same default water that we had from launch, basically. So,
I don't know. Color-wise, I'm not the best person to ask.
That's very true, yeah.
Horrifically colorblind, so it looks no different to me.
But yeah, Drew, it definitely, I think something's going on.
Yeah, I'd hope so. I mean, or, you kind of think so with these kind of aquarium type animals. And again, it'd be really, really cool if you could just kind of use it willy-nilly to make aquariums, because that's with the new path type too. If you guys saw, the new path kind of has that kind of like looking through like light shining down through an aquarium type look. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see if I can get it on the. I think it's only on the trailer here. Let's get that going. I'll pause it when it gets there though. But yeah, my immediate first thought was to use it as basically an aquarium bottom.
Could you all imagine if they work in like a swimming feature for the polar bears? Because if I'm not mistaken, polar bears are pretty decent. Like swimmers, I mean, could you imagine seeing that animation? Like
they have said that
they
hit
the water.
They have said that they want to sort of retrofit this into animals currently in the game. So that's good to hear. They're doing it with the saltwater crocodile to start off with, as I assume it's the identical rig to the little crocky thing we're getting in the update.
The dwarf caiman.
Yeah, so I imagine that's what it is, and that's the other thing that kind of makes me wonder why we're being given these sort of 4 to 5 animal packs, because during the run up, like during all of the advertising on the original, for the original title in the first place, there was so much talk about them coming up with this incredible method where they could reuse meshes and add animals to the game much easier. Being able to repurpose meshes for the animals. Do you remember that? Or am I making that up? I'm sure I remember that being a big selling point. Oh, we can add loads of animals because we can, reuse the mesh of them and stuff.
They just showed it off too. That's how we got this leak. That's how we kind of knew half these animals that were coming, is from a video that Frontier put out of them showing off the rigging and like how they can switch out animals real quick and just how innovative it is and stuff. So
yeah, and remember, Drew, you were telling me they were saying like where animals, I think like to do one rig on an animal, like it used to take them, like what were you saying, like 8 weeks or
something crazy like that,
16 weeks or something, and now
or something, or
more.
They've
condensed it down to like a month now maybe, and they've got it rolling and ready to go. So
they were talking on the Bro Nation Discord saying that maybe it's just a matter of like getting the right animal sounds and like getting them perfected.
Yeah, it's not just the movement, right? It's there's a lot of other stuff that comes with it, but maybe they've just moved to a smaller team working on this than they originally planned. Maybe because the company shifts a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and they've been moving it like record pace as far as a larger company level.
Yeah, I imagine when Zoo team could have been scaled back. Absolutely.
Yeah, I imagine when they were
to new projects.
I imagine when they started working on Planet Zoo, which was during the development cycle of Planet Coaster.
Right.
I imagine when they started working on this, they didn't know that they were going to suddenly get Warhammer, Formula One, all these huge IPs that they're now working with. Maybe it's just got to a point where it isn't as financially viable to work on this relatively niche tycoon game. And that would be sad because we're all the nerds that play relatively niche tycoon games.
It's funny
but at the end of the day,
'cause...
they're a public traded company.
Exactly.
You know, I do own shares in Frontier. I feel like I should mention that more often. But like they have to appeal to their shareholders, and if they can say, oh yeah, listen, we can have half of our team working on the official Formula One game that's gonna shit money, or we can have the team making little creatures for this tycoon game that a couple of thousand people still play, I totally can understand why. Maybe that's what they've done.
Yeah, and I that's funny. We actually just brought that up in a recent podcast too. That it's not too far fetched to think, because you said it. The F1 series alone, the Formula One series alone, is literally going to just print money for them.
Like it could set them up for life. You know?
Formula One.
Yeah, it's a license to print money.
And I'm sure they've got like a Warhammer RTS as well. Warhammer's crazy huge, So yeah, right. Maybe that's what it is. People are saying that they still work at breakneck speed. Yeah, I mean, every 3 months we get this amount of stuff. That's pretty good going. But I do wonder if the original plan was maybe to do more.
A bit more, sure.
Yeah.
But again, when your player base is 5,500 people on a weekend, that's just again, as you're saying, as a business standpoint, like how much?
Where are you spending your resources? Yeah.
So
interesting stuff.
But hopefully, again, a lot of people are thinking and hoping that this is kind of like maybe a stepping off point. Maybe this will get, we got Jonti back. I know because Race Car, who used to play Planet Zoo when it first came out, he's actually interested in it again. So maybe this will like start to creep back in a few, the people that haven't touched the game in a little bit. And hopefully, the more people that play the game and the DLCs, the better for us, because we're getting updates, kind of things. So.
Yeah, and this is a big one, guys. This is one of those, I think, in the development cycle of Planet Zoo, this is one of those game defining DLCs. This either gets a lot more people rehooked, or it is kind of just stays business as usual and may even affect development longevity. Like if this doesn't show
that old, I say old. There's the the story of when we went to the Frontier Expo, and the morning after they put a breakfast on for us, and at that loose-lipped Sam Denny,
of course, spoiler Sam.
I love that guy.
He basically said that like the fate of the future development on Planet Coaster completely hinged on how well the Spooky Pack sold.
Really?
Like literally, like they got the Spooky Pack pretty much in the bag at release, and it was all about, if this shifts as much as we needed to, we'll carry on working on Planet Coaster, and if it doesn't, then we the Adventure Pack was in the works. We finished that up, and we technically and there's a very good chance that this could be that sort of seesaw, that turning point here as well. It feels like it could. Yeah. Again, a complete speculation, but it feels like it could.
Right. It feels like the thing they've been. This is the big. Okay, here's our cards. We're laying them out for everybody. Take it or leave it, basically. Yeah. I can totally see that.
This pack could buy them so much time to let the community soak it in, let old players come back, bring in new players. This could be, we always talk about Planet Zoo needing like that shot of adrenaline, This could be that. This could change the trajectory of what we've had going on for the last year, And all of this aside, I'm still having a blast. I'm still, I play this game multiple times a week, and it's been out a year. I play this game more than any other game I have, and you all have seen my Steam list. There's a plethora of options, but I still keep coming back. So I'm still excited. I'm still hyped. This has really, it's really got me pumped. And I'm excited to see what the groundwork that this pack could lay to a game that I play almost on a daily basis.
Right. And I guess the big question that we haven't asked yet is, what's the first animal you're putting in to your zoos? What is the first semi-aquatic animal that you're going to go ahead and build a habitat there for?
Otters.
Otters?
Yep. Can't do anything else. I have to do I have to do some kind of otter lagoon, some kind of little system for them as soon as we're in. It just has to happen.
Perfect. Jonti, what do you think? I think he said he had to take a break real quick. I remind.
Well, you know, I think I'd really start with the penguins and your little folks, and you know, it just depends on if I have the money.
Wow. Are you sick, Jonti? Did you just get a cold?
No, I'm fine. I'm just bored to the back of my teeth here.
Jonti, did you ever hear the story about how S-Stan didn't get a key for Jurassic World Evolution?
Oh, you're shitting me.
I'm definitely excited for. Okay, bringing it back.
Hey, sorry, I have to step away. I had a little.
Hey, Jonti. Hey,
S-Stan filled in for you. It's all good. So.
Go ahead. Tell us what animal you would like to place first.
Yeah,
sorry, what?
That was the question. What's the animal you're gonna go for first when you get
the fish feeder thing? I'm gonna try and make an aquarium.
He's going full on aquarium
just
first.
Totally fuck all the actual habitat animals. The new exhibit. Yeah, no. Make an aquarium.
Oh, did I miss?
Don't worry, Chad.
UK accent. Nice.
It was about as good as John's for the new campaign coming up. Basically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty spot on.
I hear you all. It's
Can
no
we
better.
talk Can we talk about how much I love the willow trees?
Yeah, give us 5 minutes on it. Go on.
I believe that Mike had promised us willow trees for like the last 8 years. So it's good we're finally. I mean, Frontier had to step in and do it, but you know, better late than never, I guess.
Yeah,
what do I know?
A solid tree to get.
And
penguins probably, I think, is probably first.
Penguins, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. They're just going to be the most fun to watch, I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love my otters, but those penguins are going to be absolutely freaking adorable.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then speaking of the Weeping Willows too, I always forget that we have the free update coming out 1.4, and that is included with like a bunch of foliage, the Educator talks thing that's coming.
Let's talk about the Educator talks. That's because that's not with the DLC, but that's
free.
A new thing, right? So that's another thing that, like, I mean, that was in the very original trailer. They had those, right? Now, you should always take those cinematic trailers with a pinch of salt. I mean, there were rides shown in the Planet Coaster one that we never got. So,
right.
But yeah, that's it. But there's a really sort of standard part of the zoo, so that's exciting to see. And the thing that really interests me about those is it said that when you place down like whatever the dot is where they stand, you know, like where you dictate this is where the talk will happen, kind of thing. Yeah, it said it's gonna figure out whether or not the speaker can throw food in from that point.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so cool.
Well, that's an interesting thing. So I've got a feeling it'll look like how they throw stuff into the trash, where they just go yeet, you know, like the keeper's just going to pull out like a comedy lamb leg, you know, like what the Flintstones eat, you know, just go whoop.
Exactly.
And Silver Foxes, he's putting some bets on. We may get scuba divers with this pack.
They're thinking that's how they're going to feed the.
They go down to feed.
Well, I think they'd have shown that off. I'm sure.
There's
no way they wouldn't have.
I'm betting it's going to be just them. Like we'll have like a feeder, maybe a special kind of feeder, but it's still going to be like land based kind of thing. Maybe you'll be able to put one in the water, but they'll you
can put them in the water. They've shown a picture of one of them sat in the water squirting the fish out, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's what it is. Yeah, exactly.
So
and as far as like refilling it goes, it'll be just like Planet Zoo. You know, the zookeeper will spin in the air and like wave his magic wand, and it'll be refilled kind of thing. But for the Educator thing too. Yeah, I love the idea of them being able to feed the animals. The only thing that I hope that they can do in the future is, as of right now, if there's water in between the Educator point and the animal, they won't be able to do it. So that means they probably can't do it for any like like hippos. I immediately thought of like hippos and like throwing cabbage or lettuce heads to like hippos and stuff like that in the water.
Yeah, like watermelons and
stuff like that. Yeah, but it sounds like they can't do that yet. So I'm hoping with like, again, these advancements with the water diving mechanics and just the overall aquatic update here, maybe we'll be able to get them to update the educator points to feed aquatic animals as well.
That'd be neat. Simply the Designer there says that they'll dump a bucket into the water and it'll fill the feeder. Yeah, that's 100%. I reckon what'll happen.
Yeah,
they'll walk.
That's
as close
more
as
realistic.
They
yeah,
they'll walk they'll figure out to get as
food.
close as they can to the water's edge, and they'll chuck food out of the bucket. Yeah, and that's fine. You know, again, that comes down to at some point this is a game, and you know, there's got to be just a way of them doing that because really, if you wanted to go for. If you wanted to be a real pedant with all of this stuff, that like every habitat you build would have to have a cornered section, a section cornered off where the animal will go to, so that the staff can come in and feed. And now, I mean, I often build that stuff because I enjoy the sort of attempt at realism.
Yeah, the realism.
I know, I'm no zoo expert, so it's never going to be close. But yeah, I enjoy building that stuff. But if they were to make that a mechanic that needed to be done, then geez, it'd be way too complicated for 99% of the people who want to play, right? So I think that's why you won't see things like scuba divers and stuff. It's because at some point this is a game.
Yeah, exactly. And Savannah said, any idea why the polar bears didn't get diving mechanics? They said, I believe Shantae said, Drew was mentioning that the saltwater crocodile is the only one with this particular update. Mm-hmm. But they are working on other semi-aquatic.
They're looking at writing it back. But I imagine, like as I said before, I imagine the reason the croc does it is because it'll be the same rig as the caiman thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then speaking of, we haven't really talked about the exhibit animal. I know because most of us are kind of builders, kind of don't count the exhibit animal as a real animal, but with this update, it's kind of interesting because you can see that it kind of what you were talking about earlier, Jonti. It fills the small exhibit box like halfway up with water now. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like what you were talking about with like what an aquarium update could be. You know, just filling those things all the way up and just making it full of water and having fish in it, kind of thing. So they're halfway there with this new turtle that they're bringing in. So yeah, I think that'd be a really easy kind of solution to make aquariums and everything.
And I would like, Icy just said, I like turtles. I would really like to see more turtles, make the, like a, what do they call them? Like the alligator snapping turtle. I would love to see those kind of, spend most of their time actually underwater turtles come to some of these packs too. I think that'd be cool. Like see them, get up on the logs to sun themselves and then dive back into the water. Wouldn't that be cool?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I think.
Donatello.
Somebody's saying in the chat then, like I can if they move their development towards like, okay, so we filled out the scenery and stuff, and then like we got with Planet Coaster, we just got those few ride packs, the Magnificent and the Incredible or whatever it was called. Like if they just went to like, here's just some animals now, I'd be down for that. I think
So not so region specific.
I mean, maybe
just
you
like
could do region specific, but where there isn't necessarily a specific architecture style that goes with that region. Like they could do a European pack that hasn't. There's a hell of a lot of European animals that we haven't got. Right?
Absolutely.
So, whereas what the hell's European architecture? So I could see them totally doing that. I could see them doing.
North America's a big
one. Like North
America
pop
up in every chat.
Even though we kind of got that a little covered with the Arctic pack, I could see like a North America pack where they just sort of flesh out 5 or 6. And even if they become more and more reskins, like I'd be okay with reskins if we were getting 20 animals and 4 of them were different types of wolf. I'd kind of be okay with that. I think, if that's where these packs went, they end up being like $10, but we get 20 animals and a bit of foliage maybe that's a bit more suited towards them, 1 or 2 of the enrichment items. I'd be down for that, and that's as a complete sort of creative player. That's
And
you know what I mean.
and
You
That's
just
kind of
want
weird
to-
to say, I
You just want to fill our
remember,
zoos with
Jonti,
more.
and remember, Drew was saying from the leak, I believe 200
Yeah.
animals
We
were
have 9
eventually counted. Like when people started breaking down the screen grabs, it was like,
Really?
Yes, we
Wow.
have. So with this DLC, we'll have what? We have 97 now, so what? 102, 101 animals total. But yeah, there was 200
So-
animals in the leak that are in development or being worked
and
on.
Jonti, you know that makes sense. One more year of development. You know, I mean,
Well,
to get
it
close to.
It's not 1 more year development if we get 5 animals every 3 months.
No, that's
Right.
like future planning for what? 4
Yeah.
years.
So
or 3
so much
years?
got to shift there.
Right, and that's the thing. Like,
Do
that's
we
what I
have a
think
dump
supports.
towards the end? Like, remember
Well,
how,
yeah.
Jonti, you always told me you thought the World Pack with Planet Coaster was a massive, just let's dump out.
Yeah,
what
it was all
didn't-
shit.
what didn't
It was
fit.
very
So,
obvious that
like,
it
are
was
we going to get a
leftover
dump of
crap.
animals at the end? Like, here, this shit didn't
It's like
work. So
the last
take it.
4 packs before that, we didn't get anything with the
I've
Planet
got like a
Coaster
raccoon
logo.
with an arm growing out of its forehead.
Yeah.
So yeah. But let's see. I'm sorry. I'm just reading over, making sure we didn't miss anything. The only thing we didn't talk about was for franchise mode because we don't play it. But there is a new franchise mode map coming from the Oregon, USA map. So that might be kind of interesting to check out. And I think that's where all the screenshots are coming from. Is
Matt
from
said
that map.
he'd be okay with a bobcat over a cougar. Yeah, I'm not going to be in that D&D group anymore, so you count me out.
I'm out.
Bobcat over a cougar. Has he been drinking on a school night?
I wouldn't put it
Maybe.
past him. So, but man, so I think we covered it to death there. But is there anything else you guys wanted to kind of cover or talk about with the new aquatic pack for Planet Zoo here?
No, I think overall I'm happy. I think it looks good. It's hey, it's got me interested enough to come and chat to you guys and look at getting back into the game. But I don't get why we didn't get fish. I can't understand why we didn't get 15 exhibits that were full of water that just had like little fish swimming around on a loop. Like
Yeah,
it seemed a
unless that's
no-brainer to
bigger.
me.
Maybe it's bigger plans for the grand scheme of things that we aren't privy to yet.
Yeah.
Maybe it's I don't know. I mean, you would think we'd get, like even some kind of little what do they call them? Salmon, something, just a schooling type of fish,
Mhm.
animation, or
Right.
Right.
But
I'm just gonna do an actually. That Alexis in the chat before said that the Arctic Pack was Nordic, not North American. There was little to no North America in it at all. That's categorically incorrect. All of the animals in the Arctic Pack are found in North America. In fact, the Dall sheep is exclusively found in North America. So,
interesting.
actually,
That was kind of a blowover pack
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah,
I really
it was.
enjoyed the wood pieces that were brought
Yeah.
in because I use a lot of that stuff just for regular builds, but that was kind of a miss with me.
Mhm.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's kind of the first few packs where all the packs are always the same, where they always have a few items in them at least that are super useful that I'll always use in almost all my builds.
Yeah.
But
South
yeah,
America created Suyana, so I was definitely more on board with South America. I'm hoping to be really on board with this. This seemed like Drew. Did you see where they mentioned the cascading waterfall?
Sorry, just for fairness and clarity, they were saying that the building theme of the Arctic Pack was Nordic, and yeah, you're right. I'll be honest with you, I didn't. The problem is us guys never actually use the theme, the items as they're intended, right? I forgot that it was a Nordic theme, but you're right. Yeah, it was very Viking-esque, right? But yeah, it was a little bit of a
we see
mismatch there,
wooden
but,
beam or
yeah,
rust-
exactly. Yeah.
Right, I can frame this window with that.
Yeah,
And-
I always remember in the in Planet Coaster they made it so that like guests recognize spooky items, right?
They tried that little kind of
Yeah, and I think they might have got rid of it, but I remember if there was a good point where people would walk past a toilet in Pinewood Hills and go, "Ooh," because it was made with spooky beam
Right.
number 3 or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Australia Pack gave us a lot of useful pieces. as far as like the corrugated roof pieces
yeah,
go.
yeah, the rusty pipes and stuff. They're all good. Yeah,
and that's
all the
basically
packs have had a few nice bits of furniture in or whatever, and they always do, and that's never in any doubt. Honestly, I think most of it is pretty good, especially if you build an area, with that theme. The Australia, all the statues and stuff that came with Australia Pack are awesome. I think they look great. But yeah, I think the big shift as a completely creative player who only really has interest in the scenery and the habitats, I genuinely think this zoo game needs more animals. What a crazy idea to have, eh?
Yeah,
like that. I just think
that's
all it
pretty
comes
much
down
how
to.
I feel too. It's like, again, we always say like every pack is like great building items. Everything we're getting looks good, sounds good, feels good when you're building with it, but we just don't have enough for the zoo game. Basically, it's like we just need more of that actual animal zoo content.
Right, and that's what Linda hits on with me a lot too. She's like, I know you guys builders and your theme park builders, and that just comes along with following you guys. But from a pure zoo gameplay standpoint, a lot of us want more animals. Like Jonti just said, I know that's crazy for us to ask. And I guess sometimes it just comes as an afterthought to me, because I go right to the construction tab. But you're right. They definitely, need more little critters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, hopefully, in the future, they say they're listening to the community and everything. So, hopefully, you'll get a little email back from Shantae. Maybe she'll actually get a nice little answer for.
What if Shantae emails me back and she's like, Steve, I was gonna see if you could do me a quick favor and shut the hell up, and then we'll get back with you. And I'll be like, oh shit, yes.
Catch her on a bad night, maybe.
Somebody needs to say it.
Talk to me like that.
I've had enough of their shit.
But yeah,
can you get your hands on a Jurassic World evolution key? Talking to me like that.
Nice. A lot of people always say, we just need X animal and we just need Y animal, and I don't agree with that, because I think everyone's essential animal is going to be different. Like I think who's going to say like, I can't believe there's not X animal in the game yet, and it'll be something I've never even thought of.
Yeah.
A lot of the time,
you're right.
I've never
I can't
even
believe
heard
the Brazilian nut tree squirrel isn't
exactly
in this.
right.
That should be day one.
It'd be fair enough if it was like, I'm trying to think of a big animal that's not in the game now currently. Like
white rhino, black rhino. That
yeah, but I mean we have
that kind of comes to me.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I don't really know enough about zoology to really care whether we have white, pink, or yellow with green spot rhinos. We have a rhino, and that's enough for me as a Luddite when it comes to animals. Meerkats. Yeah, so there's a good one. Meerkats. Meerkats seem kind of obvious that they're not in the game to me. I'm like, oh yeah,
you do see those at a lot of zoos.
They're staple.
But I bet there's other people who are like, oh yeah, I've never even thought about meerkats. You know what I mean? Like everyone's opinion is different. I imagine a lot of British people will think meerkats are standard for zoos, because there was a really huge marketing campaign started about 10 or 15 years ago for a website called Compare the Market, which is like a insurance comparison website. And their whole advertising campaign, still's going now today, is that there's these meerkats who have a website called comparethemeerkat.com, where it's like a dating site for meerkats, and they're getting really annoyed that Compare the Market keeps, because it's like, no, we're Compare the Meerkat. Like the first advert was like them on the phone saying, no, we're not Compare the Market, we're Compare the Meerkat. Like, I know it's close, but you've got it wrong. But like they've been going for years, right? And one of them, there you go, Bongo Harwood says Simples. That's what he says at the end of every one. His name is, and it got so huge that every zoo in the UK went and got their meerkats and put them right at the front of the zoo. It became like everyone loved meerkats.
It was the new flamingo of the zoo,
right? Yeah. So meerkats is quite a common one. I imagine we haven't got meerkats for a technical reason. I imagine it's because they haven't figured out how to do burrowing yet.
And that's an interesting one too.
Penguins were a massive one too.
Yeah.
But I still have some people that I interact with this type of penguin, and I'm like, guys, they're giving us freaking penguins. Let's start out with this one. Like, okay, we're getting a penguin. We don't need 5 of them in one pack.
I mean, it would be nice if we got variations. Because for instance, you could if you're building a small city zoo, then I imagine there's a certain type of penguin that's very easy to keep and easy to breed and stuff. But then if you're doing like an Arctic research development zoo, it might be nice to have a penguin that's endangered or whatever. But when we're getting 5 animals every 3 months, we don't need more than one type of penguin.
Right. And that's kind of become a meme with them like wanting to add more bears. I mean, I know the sun bear is a really popular one, and a lot of people want to see it come, but at the same time, bears, another bear.
Bears are the Ferris wheels of Planet Zoo, basically. It's never enough Ferris wheels like in Planet Coaster. There's always a Ferris wheel in every single update, basically.
Somebody says, I refuse to take burrowing as an excuse. I'm not making excuses for anybody. I'm just trying to think of reasons why we haven't seen meerkats and groundhogs and prairie dogs and
that's not even, they don't even do proper burrowing, really.
Yeah, there are animals that we've got aardvarks, for instance, and I imagine pangolins burrow because they just look like they should, like so. But like the whole exhibit where there mongooses, there's another good one, like those exhibits where there are tunnels everywhere with like clear domes that you can look in and stuff, like you don't expect to see an aardvark in one of those, that species is Jonti. I know, it's terrible of me, right? I mean, indignant to pangolins. They look like they burrow. I don't know.
They
all
may
the same
as well.
To me.
I'd love some sloths.
Those would be pretty adorable, but they probably put them in an exhibit box.
Sloths would be really difficult because there is no animal in Planet Zoo that stays anywhere near in a tree long enough that it should.
No.
And sloths basically live in trees,
like
right?
rolling around on the ground
exactly,
doing
yeah.
Can you imagine that's what the sloths are, and sloths look creepy as fuck when they're crawling around on the ground, right?
On all fours and everything. Yeah, they're all hunched over awkwardly.
Sloths should just be a scenery object. Yeah, they should be like just like an enrichment item, right? It's just a sloth on a stick.
Or like Mongo said, make it an animated prop piece. Just make its little arms, like where we could, maneuver it, just hang it on a branch and have its little arms move from time to time. I'd be fine with that.
Silver Fox says koalas are not bears. Who said they were?
They are now.
No, he's right. They're not, but I don't think any of us said they were. That's what I say. Pigs aren't giraffes.
I agree.
No.
I agree. What was I gonna say? Speaking of like birds and aviaries, because John brings it up every single time that's his big want. Do you guys think that now that we see fish coming out of like fish cannons, is that like the way they're gonna do like big aviary bird cannons, basically, where you can control like the radius of an area where birds will like appear in like flocks or whatever, and you can control like density of the flocks? Like, is that a thing? That's a frontier thing to do.
Well, see, I have a. How's the best way to word this without getting people into trouble? I have a bit of an inside source at Frontier who deals with I won't say any more than that because there's only one guy who does it, and I don't want to or girl, and I don't want to put them under the rug. But I know for a fact they specifically want, it's part of their sort of design document, that every instance of a creature is singular. So it's what, like, we'll never see butterflies because they would want every single butterfly to be selectable and have their own wants and needs and stuff.
Right.
Whereas,
okay.
Like I said, like in Planet Coaster, we can put butterflies down, right? Like, can you make it so that it's like, here's a bunch of butterflies that we look after, or a bunch of bees, or a bunch of little,
like how's the group's feelings or whatever.
And they've said no, they specifically want every creature that's instanced in the game to be singular and to have its own stat block and stuff, basically. So
interesting.
So that won't be how they do birds. So I think if we do see birds, it will be parrots, eagles.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
things that hang out alone. Maybe. Yeah.
How they do it, I know. Like, I'd probably be okay with them just all being clipped and in a form of exhibit kind of thing. I think, like with maybe a larger scale, obviously. But normally when you go to see birds,
I was gonna say, like,
maybe the lorikeets or something where you can walk through them.
Sure.
But most time they're in pretty small enclosures, right?
I mean, with this recent innovations with how good the underwater looks, like I wouldn't put it past them to have like a new aviary type habitat builder that kind of auto generates or auto forms. I mean, yeah, if it's gonna look this good with the semi-aquatic animals, yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a few people there saying, well, what about like basically a particle effect for butterflies or bees? That's kind of what I'm getting at. They've specifically said they won't do that because they want each creature in the game to be an individual instance.
Right. So think of like you would actually click on each individual butterfly that is flying around. They would have their own, like you said, needs and wants and.
Yeah, so they and obviously that's not going to happen.
That would be ridiculous.
You won't see those things. Maybe they will shift. The flying mechanism done in Jurassic World is pretty weak. It's basically a huge freaking dome that you put down, and the I forget what the actual type of creature it is now inside. Right? What is it?
Pterodon or
Pterodon?
It's something like that. Yeah. So
dinosaur nerds are gonna read
anyway,
real quick.
yeah. So it's a pterosaur. I forget what type of pterosaur it is, but it's a pterosaur. Basically, the pterosaurs go around on a loop, and that's kind of it, really. So it's kind of similar to the exhibit animal.
There you go, pterodactyl.
Is it or is it a?
Well, they said both. There's pteranodon and a pterodactyl.
I kind of wonder if Prehistoric Kingdom is going to do that too. Are we talking about a loop? Like, is that how this?
Well, that's what it looks like they have for the raptor bird that they already have for their exhibit kind of thing, and like it looks good though because it's flying around its cage and everything. So
it stops and looks around and pecks a little bit and then it takes off again. As long if it's a random smoothed out type animation, it'd be fine. I'm just micro raptor.
So so people are saying a pteranodon. I think that's what it is. So pterodon is that's a reptile that flies basically. So
gotcha.
So pterodon is all of them, but pteranodon is a certain type, and I think that's the one that's in Jurassic World. But
gotcha. Today I learned.
Yeah.
Stan and I were saying that like when Prehistoric Kingdom comes out, like we're so excited to try the builder, but like we're gonna have to at least like try and make a half-assed attempt to learn all these dinosaur names somehow. Like it's gonna be so difficult.
Yeah. Or the main thing you can't do is say flying dinosaurs or swinging dinosaurs because that's
the big taboo in the dinosaur
big misnomer. Yeah. Watch some of that stuff. He's pretty well up on it. Yeah.
Speaking of that, are you kind of planning on diving into PK as well when that comes around again? Because I know you kind of covered
hopefully.
it.
I've covered it a few times over the years.
Right.
That caught your interest.
I've been lucky enough to be able to play it a couple of times during its development. Once like crazy freaking early. Like I think the first video I did it on it was maybe like 3 years ago.
Oh wow!
Like super
that's a completely different build than what we have now.
Yeah, and then I got to play it last year. So I'm all down for that. It looks good. I'm just hoping the creative side is there, but we need a good, because as pretty as Jurassic World Evolution was, the Frontier suffer from the same problem all the time. I think to varying levels in their games.
Yeah.
They're wide as an ocean and deep as a puddle, right? They look great, but when you boil down to it, there's very little there. And I think Jurassic World was the biggest example of that. I think it basically played like a mobile game.
Yeah, I say that every time.
Yeah, but it looked great. It was gorgeous, and I if they can get anywhere near that, but actually give us some cool gameplay, then I'm down. Yeah.
Absolutely. So. Cool. All right. Well, since we're starting to move into other games, I think we've talked to death the Aquatic Pack then. So,
hey, talking of other games, I'm crazy excited for Cyberpunk next week.
Oh man, you and Estan are gonna have to take off. I know Estan's taking off work for it already.
Yeah,
I don't work.
First thing Friday morning, because I was thinking let's let the day one patch work out. Yeah. And then Friday morning, I'm gonna hit it up. We're gonna do like a 5-hour stream.
Just all
Oh,
day.
you're going to put it on your channel? That's interesting. See, I haven't got any plans to put it on Geekism because it's just so different to the stuff I normally cover.
I've prepped people enough. I think that I think because with the Red Dead stuff, and I think I've prepped my people enough to accept it and kind of see how it goes.
I mean, the best thing you can do is just dive the hell into it and just play it consistently on the channel, and then
right. I think
people will either get used to it or go away.
Yeah, like I'm just gonna die. But the only thing that's kind of screwing me though is, and I was telling Drew this, right? We're talking 2 days after Aquatic Pack comes out, so all of my Planet Zoo people are going to be, hard up for some Aquatic Pack streams, and then like I'm taking that whole day off, like to dedicate it to Cyberpunk. So maybe what I'll have to do is 2 streams. We'll do the Cyberpunk early and then dive into Planet Zoo later in the day and kind of flip flop all weekend.
Yeah.
And kind of make it work.
Try and get a Planet Zoo like pre-record ready, so that you can throw that out on the same day as well. Look at us getting all technical. Mass Bandit saying he's losing subs so fast. Yeah, you want to talk about somebody pivoting content? Mass Bandit's put a barbecue video and a miniature painting video out this week,
and then stuck Planet Coaster in the middle right there.
Planet. So yeah, you want to know how to lose subscribers? Play a 4-year-old video game, cook some meat, and paint it.
That's how to nosedive your channel 101.
I genuinely, I tell you how to gain subscribers is don't put any videos out. Like I'm gaining subscribers quicker at the moment than I have for the last 6 months by not making any videos. And every time I put a video out, I lose subs.
People just don't know what to make of you anymore. They're just like, whatever.
I'm really hoping that that this Aquatic Pack gets me back into a bit of a rhythm, because I have had the worst creative block for about a year now.
Right.
I'm in such a freaking rut, and it makes it worse that it's my job, like it makes it so much worse that it's my bills paid. So yeah, I'm really hoping, and I feel like it might, because this is the first time I've actually been having ideas about what I want to build before the pack came out,
Yeah, if you're getting genuinely excited and you can envision it like being in your zoo basically already, then you know that hopefully, again, like we've been saying the whole time, hopefully it's something special that will...
hopefully that translates and you can,
and tell you what, if it doesn't work out, we'll just start streaming D&D on your channel exclusively.
Hey, I tell you, as soon as you guys all get cameras, I'll stream some D&D.
That'll be a good time. So.
Yep.
But cool. All right. Well, hey, let's go ahead and we've kept Jonti long enough, I suppose, there. So we will kick him out.
I gotta go to work. I gotta go to the game.
It's like 3 a.m. where they're at. Like they have to go to work and
right.
Stay.
All these awesome nerds staying up forever. So, but
well, it's 9:45 here, but I've got to go into the game store because I run a 3D print sort of sideline now, doing 3D printed miniatures.
That's cool.
They take like 6 or 7 hours, so I go in at this time and press go, and then come home, and then when I get there in the morning, they're ready for me to take.
I mean, it's not the worst night of work, I guess.
Leaf said, "I love your side channel, the Game Chamber."
The Game Chamber, that's right. Yeah, that's where I've been doing some work, which has been a real lifesaver for the last 6 months while I haven't been creatively invested, because they've been paying me to do stuff over there. But it's really fun if you're interested in miniatures or D&D, Warhammer, that kind of thing. We do a lot of like painting and building and stuff over there. So.
Heck yeah. I didn't link that one. I linked your main Geekism channel, but I'm sure there's ways to meander and find you all over.
Search for Game Chamber. But yeah, now Geekism's where it's should be at.
Right. And again, like we've been saying, be sure to everyone, if you're not already, I'm sure you already are, but check out Jonti on Geekism, because he will be having some Aquatic Pack stuff coming on his channel as well. So yay, Jonti's back.
As it stands, it'll be after these two have something out.
What are you talking about? What?
I can say, fuck, I'm not under NDA. I have not been blessed with access.
And Estan and I do the deer in the headlights look, like blink, blink, blink. But yeah, no, we're all of us will have some awesome content coming out, and yeah, no, in the future, if there's any other fun little updates before the pack comes out, we will do another Take-Two podcast, but probably gonna wait until the pack just comes out. We'll do a Take-Two podcast, kind of talk about the pack and see what we all think of it and stuff like that.
See how right we were, or
Yeah.
how wrong we were. Yeah.
Exactly. See if it sucks or it's great. So. But cool. So, hey, we're going to take off. Again, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Oh, my cats are about to kill each other. The cat battle royale.
No, my dog's just farted. So.
Oh, you got to clear out. But again, if you haven't already, check out Jonti's channel. Link in the description below. Check out Stan's channel. I didn't link Stan's channel.
My channel, don't.
I forgot to link your channel anyways. I figured everyone's already subbed to it. So.
No.
So cool. Hey, awesome. Hey, thanks so much, everyone. And yeah, until the next podcast there, we will talk at y'all later.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah.